Have you ever learned something about your family that completely shattered everything you thought you knew about them? Something that made you question everything, even your own identity? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. I discovered something that turned my world upside down. And it all started with a late-night confession from my dad after he had too much to drink. It was just another quiet night, and I was having a conversation with my dad. He wasn't usually open with me, but that night was different. After a couple of drinks, he started talking. And that's when he dropped a bombshell I wasn't ready for. He told me something that made my heart skip a beat. You have an older sister. You were both born the same year, but she's not your sister in the way you think. My world froze in that moment. I couldn't believe it. My dad, the man who'd never told me anything about our family's past, had just revealed that I had an older sister. But there was a twist. She wasn't part of our family. My dad had gotten a girl pregnant when he was in high school, and instead of keeping the baby, he had forced her mother to give her up for adoption. A closed adoption. But here's the real kicker. He refused to marry her mother, and he refused to even acknowledge my sister's existence. I couldn't understand why he'd kept this secret for so long. After that night, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I had to know more. Who was she? Was she out there, and if so, where? I started digging, researching adoption records, and making inquiries. But back then, in the 1960s, closed adoptions meant there were no records, no leads, nothing. It was like trying to find a needle in a haystack thick. But just when I was about to give up, something incredible happened. I managed to track down an old adoption agency that had been operating in the 1960s. To my surprise, they still had a record for the adoption my sister had been part of. And in that record, I found the name of the family that adopted her. I couldn't believe it. I was finally getting close. I contacted the family who adopted her, and what happened next was something I never could have imagined. They responded. Turns out my sister had been looking for me too. But here's the twist. She knew about me long before I even knew about her. She had been trying to find me her whole life, and the most mind-blowing part, she had been living just a few miles away from me for years. Our entire lives we were so close, but we had never met. After all the searching, after all the unanswered questions, we finally met. The moment was surreal. I couldn't believe this stranger was my sister, but there was an instant connection. We spent hours talking, catching up on all the years we'd missed. But then, the most shocking revelation of all came from my sister. She revealed something that left me completely speechless. Her adoptive mother, who had raised her, was someone I knew well. It was my mother's best friend from high school. She had been the one to adopt my sister and had kept the secret from my family all these years. The truth was even more twisted than I could have ever imagined. The entire time, the people closest to me knew about my sister, and they never told me. This secret was buried so deep in my family's history, I almost didn't believe it was real. In the end, I found the answers I was searching for. But I also learned that sometimes the truth is far more complicated than we think. Family secrets, hidden histories. Sometimes it's not about finding the answers, but about accepting that there are things we'll never fully understand. But in the end, I found my sister, and that's all that matters. So what's the craziest family secret you've ever uncovered? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable family tales. Trust